And so taking that exact example and applying it to what you're building on, which is like AI models, how do you see communication and like the way we actually interact on a day-to-day basis changing once AI latency is, below 2 milliseconds or below 1 millisecond? And once we're at a point where it's like people are walking around with the Vision Pro on their head, speaking completely different languages, but they're all able to interact.
Yeah. I think that's like going to happen. Like, I think that's an inevitability.
How far out?
The Vision Pro thing is too expensive for like massive adoption very quickly. But I would say the next 5 years for sure, it's gonna be the iPhone. Like, this is the iPhone 1 moment, right?
Right.
Like 5 years down the road, everyone's gonna have some version of this. I think we can probably do something faster today just with I do want to build for the Apple Vision Pro, but I also want to make sure that like what's a market today that's large enough that we can just go and execute on. And I think we can do real time is not far away from us.
That's crazy to think about. It's also like at a time right now where everything seems to be moving to meet in the middle. And what I mean by that is we have the Vision Pro or let's take the Quest, for example, the Quest Pro, which was a super powerful, super chunky thing. Then the Quest 3, which is kind of smaller, pass through is perfect. The experience is really good when you use it. And then you have the Ray-Ban Metas, which the form factor is basically perfect. You can't really tell that someone's using it, especially if they put electrical tape over the recording sensor. The microphone works really well. And it feels like we're going to meet in the middle to where in the short term, like in the next few years, we're going to see AR glasses that I could put on and I could walk in like China, for example. I can speak whatever language I'm speaking. But the cool part is more that if I'm speaking to you and I don't know the language you're speaking, I will see a rendered version of you speaking in your language that I don't understand, translated in a way to where it's my language that I understand and I hear it. And I feel like that will change a lot.
Have you ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Of course, yeah. After Elon Musk recommended it. He was like, that's my favorite book. I was like 14. I was like, I have to read it now.
Oh my God. But you remember the Babblefish?
I do, yeah.
Dude, that's like a real thing that we could go and build. Like, we are building like all the pieces of that stack are coming together now. Like, there's no reason why language will ever be a barrier in every generation to come.
And so once the communication layer is basically the same for everyone, and once that is no longer a barrier to entry, what will determine winners and losers?
I think it's a level playing field. I think it just levels the playing. Everyone who's smart will get an opportunity to learn in the way that they're suited to best. I think it will democratize access to a lot of things. Like, for example, jobs. Like the biggest problem to hiring someone across the world. Okay, time zones is an issue, but like remote work is happening more and more frequently. You can do asynchronous, like you can code asynchronously, you can write documents asynchronously. But the biggest barrier to having someone who's really smart in another country that doesn't speak English work at Meta, for example, is the language barrier. If you can't effectively communicate with the rest of your teammates, then it adds like a layer of, it just like slows things down, right? Slows things down, the risk of miscommunicating, the risk of doing something wrong increases. So I think like when language becomes in a sense like obsolete, yeah, like it'll open up the world to another level of just collaboration and like ideas will come from a lot of new places.
This argument of like, or this perspective of like, AI will level the playing field is something that has been talked about a lot, especially in the last year or two. I was talking to Sharif about AGI and kind of his prediction, his timeline, how he thinks it'll change the world. And so I'm curious to get your take as well. Outside of just specifically AI translation, do you think that AI, as much as it'll level the playing field, do you think it will also start to compete on that playing field?
Will it compete on the playing field? Like, okay, if we define AGI as like an artificial entity that can do everything a human does, but probably better, then that's a very scary thing. But I don't think in a sense, it's scary because, yeah, it could like automate a lot of people away.
So you think if it works like that, it will automate people away?
I think I would like to give people the benefit of the doubt to say, if a tool like this comes out, you will learn how to use it and leverage it to your advantage. I still think humans would be able to do a lot of things, many things that like a hyper like intelligent reasoning engine will not be able to.
But right now, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but ChatGPT has been out for a little over a year. GPT-3, when it came out, super good. When 4 came out, it made 3.5 look like it was useless. And now they're using 4 to build 5. But still, so many people don't know how to use it, and they actually don't know how to prompt, or they just haven't cared enough to figure out how to leverage GPT to make themselves just that much more capable. But the ones who have basically have superpowers.
Yeah.
Like the ones who have figured out how to use AI in their daily workflows, and the people who have figured out how to, like content creators who use AI to generate more content, better content, more attractive content, coder, like people who are programmers who have figured out how to use code to write much more code, like much more efficient code, cleaner code, faster code, better code. People who are lawyers who are starting with things like Harvey, who are figuring out how to be more,
just get more done.
Yeah. It's like everyone who has figured out how to get more done is that much more ahead of everyone else. Do you not think that that same thing will continue to happen, even if the barrier to entry as far as getting good at AI gets lowered?
Hasn't that barrier always existed? Hardworking people will always get ahead. Isn't that the same thing? Like hardworking people who, like they always go and leverage the tools that are available to them, or they go find the tools to go and grow, right? Like at the end of the day, you're leveling the playing field, but you're like everyone on the field has different capabilities, and everyone is going to play the game differently and grow at different rates, right? Yeah. And I think that's actually a better way to think about it. Like give everyone the same ground level advantage and see what people do with it.
Interesting.